Okay, so I've just gone into Google here and typed in free 3D models, and you can see it's giving me a whole list of different sites that will give you all sorts of 3D resources. And so I've gone to this one which has, where are we? Sorry, going back one. Here we are. A list of different 3D or free sites with 3D models. Right, so not everything on these sites is free, but there definitely are a lot of free things here. So 3D Total, Turbo Squid's a really popular one that's used with 3ds Max, and a lot of the models on that are actually not free, but there definitely are some free models there. There are some with complete buildings, like this one, Great Buildings, and archive3d.net is actually a resource for ArchiCAD, but because, again, 3ds Max is essentially the standard for 3D, a lot of the models are in 3ds format, which is one of the old 3ds Max formats. It's the old 3D Studio format. So same with SketchUp. You can import SketchUp models into 3ds Max. So if you go to Import, you can, again, just import SketchUp files straight into Max. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go no further. So I've just gone to this one, 3D Model Free, and I found this model, which is a fairly complex model of a little pavilion with quite a bit of detail that would probably be fairly difficult for you to model. But it's an easy thing to drop into one of your own models, and you'll find there are all sorts of things. If you have a look here, these are all, there's just a small selection of a lot of the free models that they have there. There are a lot more if you have a good look. So I'm just going to show you how to bring that into Max. You can download the model fairly easily, just clicking on the link there, model download, and it'll give you an option there to save it. So I'll just save as into my folder. Now I've already saved it, but I'll replace it. And then you'll find it'll be a compressed file, so you just need to use WinZip or a similar program to extract that. When you right click on the file you've downloaded, you can go down to WinZip and then choose the option for extraction. So you could just use extract to here, or one of these options to extract to a certain folder. And again, I've done that already, so it's gone into this folder here, and I'm simply going to then open that up. So I've got this file I've been using to demo some things for you. I'm just going to leave that for now, and if you download something that someone else has made, it's always worth having a good look at it first before you try to use that in your own model, by just opening it up and seeing what's in there. So I'm going to open that file, just going to browse to where I've saved it. So there's the file, open, and I've got this message about gamma LUT correction. Now that's an option to do with your lighting setup essentially, and you can usually keep the previous setting that you've had. So you can say no, you don't want it to be set to match the file you're opening, and then sometimes you'll get a message about the units not matching. Now here you've got to think about what you're trying to do. If you want to bring that into a file that you have set to different system units, then it can be a good idea to try rescaling the files objects to the system unit scale you're working with. And so I know with this one I'm working with feet as my system unit scale, so I'm going to try rescaling the objects to that system unit setting that I'm using. Okay, so OK. And I've got some messages about missing maps, and you can see here the person who made this is probably Chinese, so we're missing those image files. That shouldn't be a problem. We can always make the materials again and use our own images. So that's fine. I can just hit continue there, and if you get a message about obsolete data, again just hit OK. So there I've got the elements. They've all come in pretty well. So I'm going to do a save as, and save that with my own name, and sorry, that's the wrong folder, into this one. and then have a good look at it. So F3 on the keyboard, if you don't remember, is the toggle for shaded and wireframe. But if you right-click on the, or even left-click actually, on this little label, you can always choose shaded or realistic from that menu, and it'll do the same thing. Going to restore the other viewports, and then I'll do a zoom extents all selected, or just zoom extents all, and that'll zoom to show everything in all the viewports. So here we've got a light, which wouldn't be a bad thing if I want to render this in this file. And there's a couple of other lights over here, so they're both Omni lights, which are good for indirect light. So if I right-click in that camera viewport and click the render button, it'll probably render pretty well. Again, we'll get a message about the missing map files. That's fine, and that's not too bad for free. So what we want to really find out then is whether the size is right. So I'm going to go onto the display panel and just hide those lights rather than deleting them. They could be useful later for rendering. So I'll just turn the lights off here, and then the cameras too, so we can just see the model, and then I'll do zoom extents selected again, and that'll just fit them all into the viewport a bit bigger. And then in the top viewport, so I've just right clicked there, I'm going to go to tools and then measure distance. So if you've been wondering how to measure things, this is a good quick way of measuring in Max. Okay, so with measure distance you can then double click to do the first point, and then just click once to give the second point. Right, and you can see then my measurements come up in centimetres as, what is it? It's a big number, 120,196 centimetres, which is big. I'd say just to make it easier, because I know it's big, I'm going to go to Customise, Unit Setup, and I'll set that to to metres, because we're working with something that's a big scale. OK, and then I'll measure that again. So Tools, Measure Distance. Remember, double click to give the first point, and then click once to give the second point. So in metres, it's still really big. Right, so 1,100 metres essentially. Which is about a kilometre, a bit over a kilometre. Right, so this object definitely shouldn't be that big. Right? So I might go in and measure something that we can relate to a bit more easily, like the stair height. So no matter where you are in the world, the stair height, the tread height should be around 150, 170 mil, something like that. In some places you can go over 190 mil, so it might be maybe modelled more than 190, might be even 200, but definitely it should be within that range. So again, under Tools, Measure Distance, I'll double click to give the first point, click once to give the second point, and we can see it's 3 and a bit metres. So I'm going to go do a little calculation. So I'll bring up my calculator. Alright, so I'm going to assume I want this riser to be, say, 175. So if I divide 3, 8, 6, 7, should be about right, by 175, that gives me the scale factor. So it's about 22 times bigger than it should be. Now, if you think about your measurements and conversion factors, you might remember there are 25.4 millimetres to an inch. So there's a good chance that that's what's happened here. It's gone out by that amount. So I'll try that, plugging those numbers in. So 3, 8, 6, 7 divided by 25.4 gives me, no, that can't be right. Oh, sorry, 254. So no, that's not right. That's sorry, 3, 8, 6, 7. Sorry, it's just frozen a bit. There we go. Come on, 25. Yep, divided by 25.4. That's better. Okay, so 152. that would be a good tread height. And then there might be a good chance I'm working with the units this person used to model this originally. Right, so often if you can use those numbers that are used for scaling, like that 25.4, you're going to be in a good place. So I'll bring those lights and cameras back because I want to scale them as well. I'm just going to select everything. And now to work out my scale factor, again I've got to use the calculator. So I want to make this 125 and a bit, or a bit over 1/25 the size it is. Okay, so that's 1 divided by 25.4 equals, and this is my scale factor. Okay, so that's as a fraction of 1. Remember, you've got to make that a percentage. Hopefully this is all just basic revision for you if you did maths in high school, but I know they let people graduate high school without doing maths these days, which is beyond me. It should never have been allowed, but I know they let you do that. So anyhow, multiplied by 100, if you don't remember, to make it a percentage, gives you the percentage we want this to be. And just think about it logically. If you're double checking in your mind, 100 divided by 24, or 25 let's say, is 4. That's close to 4, so you know you're on the right track if you end up with a number like this. So I'm going to go to the edit menu, copy to clipboard, and now with all these objects selected in Max, I'm going to select the scale button, right click, and then I can type in that percentage or just paste it, Control V, enter, and now those objects have all been scaled down. And so notice the camera view hasn't changed because the camera was scaled along with the other objects. I can use zoom to fit in all, and again if I wanted to hide the cameras and the lights again now, and then again zoom in. Let's just do that again to make those objects clearer. So that's the first step, just getting the objects to be the right size. And this is the most common problem people have when they get resources they've downloaded, just checking the scale initially. Because remember, people work with different measurements all over the world. In America they usually work with inches, and in other places they'll use, again, different units still. So again, I'm just going to save that file. Confirm. There we go, that's done. And now I can go further modifying it using the tools I've been showing you already. So I'm going to select my main object, and you'll see on the modify panel it's not giving me any options. So when you see this, it means usually that it's grouped. So that's something I haven't shown you yet. You'll see in this modify panel, I know already because it's bold. So that means it's also probably something, an instance, but the main option there anyway is that it doesn't give you any options in the modify panel. So yeah, that's right, ungroup them or open the group. So on the group menu, you've got those two options, ungroup or open. So I might ungroup it because in the file where I end up using this, I may want to use the group again. So I'll open the group, and now you can see it shows me this yellow box, which is the group handle. And if I select any object within that, it's going to give me the way it was made. So some of these were made in using tools that I haven't shown you yet, like Loft. But if I select some of the others, you can see there, a lot of it is just basic primitives, like cylinders here. So those structures there, they look pretty complicated, are actually just cylinders that have been rotated using the options I've been showing you already. Again, more cylinders here, we go down, and most of it is just cylinders, but you can see then some other options like extrude have been used to make some of the railings and other things. Right, now, if you're not sure how to use some of those tools, and you do want to modify these things, remember you can convert anything by right-clicking and then going to convert to editable poly. And so then you have the individual polygons, edges, and other elements that I've been showing you already. So let's just go and look at this in wireframe. Okay, so you could modify any of these individual pieces. In this case, oh yeah, sure.
Sorry, when it says polygon, is that the individual square that's within can you just remind me what polygon is?
Yeah, so each of these faces is a polygon.
Oh, each of the faces.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So you can select a series of them and extrude from there, and yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to change any of those. I'm just going to delete this top, and then we can see the other parts. So that canopy as well, delete that, and then all these different these rafters and the beam. Just clear all of that out. So I might just want to use the bottom part. So I just orbited there, and okay. So often what you want to do with these free models is just take the parts that you want and clear out the rest. So we'll just delete all of these things. No problem. Now I've deleted the. I'll just show you what happened there. I deleted the group. I'm pretty sure. Did I? Yes. Okay, so that border going around it, just got to watch out for that. I deleted that and didn't want to, so it's been selected there. If you use Control, you'll see a little plus comes up next to your cursor to show you that you can add to a selection. Just like in Revit, you can use Shift. So I can select all of these things, and then in Max it's Alt to remove from the selection. So I can deselect that bounding box, which will leave this thing as a group. And then I can just delete those elements, and I might get rid of this platform as well. So I'm just left with the things I need. Right, so then again on the group menu, oops, just make sure it's got one of the elements selected, doesn't matter which one. Any of those things can be selected, and then if you go to group, you can choose close, and that'll basically combine them all again as a group. Okay, so I'm just going to go and save that file with a new name, so Pavilion No Roof or something. And then go back into the file that I want to use it in. Okay, so that might also show you something that's not obvious with Max. It's not multitasking. So that means you can't have more than one file open. So most Windows programs these days, I'm sure you'll realise, you can have many files open or many tabs in IE, in AutoCAD, Revit. It's not a problem to have multiple files open. But in 3ds Max, because it uses a lot of your resources, you can only have one file at a time. Having said that, it looks like it's got some issues opening that file, so I might just close this and open it again. Yeah. So, not necessarily, no, it won't often help because people, when they make things, they just use often generic units. They don't really set the measurement in millimetres. Yeah, often, yeah. Okay, so that will open eventually, but while that's happening, I'll just maybe show you how you can get some other good things, resources to look at and see what's possible with the program. So remember this one, Maxwell Render. It's probably the state-of-the-art rendering program used these days by lots of professional renderers or 3D people, but probably more for product design and things where you can work at a smaller scale than you often can with architectural models. There are plenty of people using it for architectural work, like you can see here, and it's very realistic, but well, these trees aren't the best actually. I've seen better work done with it. I wonder why they don't have, I mean, this is just new stuff I suppose, but here we go, that's a pretty good one. It's a really nice lighting engine, but then let's go and see, is that finished opening yet? No, it's still opening. God, I hope that hasn't. Shouldn't take this long to open, but we've got lots of issues with the network at the moment, so it's taking a while to open things over the network, which is a real pain. Anyhow, while that's happening, V-Ray is another popular one. Well, you'll have the option. I won't be showing you all the different rendering programs. I'll teach you mainly with Mental Ray. I use V-Ray for my own work. Once you learn Mental Ray, then you can fairly easily pick up those other engines. But you need to spend the money often to get them. Even though Maxwell, you can see, is free for students, which is a great thing. Anyhow, if you get access to a V-Ray license, you'll see it can do a lot of the architectural work, and it's probably the industry standard these days for architectural rendering because it's capable of rendering pretty quickly and still having it look good, and it has that sort of photo realistic feel. Okay, so have a look for the V-Ray demo reel and you'll see what it can do. And then Alex Roman is one of the best exponents of this sort of work. So Google Alex, R-O-M-A-N it is, just like Roman people, and so he's incredible. But this is still pretty good work. Yeah. A lot of it's done in Australia. So anyhow, I'll let you look that up. Let's see if this is open. There we go. So that's finally opened. So I'm just going to hide these things for now. They're in the way. Right, so I'm going to then bring in that model on the main menu. Just make that maximise. So again, on the main menu, under Import, you can go to Merge, and that will let you import any 3ds Max model. So once you go to Merge, then you can browse, find your file. There it is. Okay, so that's still merging. It's just going to take a minute. There we are. Okay, so you'll get a selection of objects. So remember, there are lights in that file, and cameras, and a camera as well. And you can tell from the names usually. So F direct is a direct light. These two omnis, 1 and 2, are omnidirectional lights, and spot 1 is a spotlight. So remember, the geometry was all grouped together, and that's this object here, group 2196. And that's again why it's often a good idea to have a good look at the file and see how it's set up before you try to import it.
So you wouldn't bring the camera to the light?
Sorry?
So you wouldn't bring the camera?
No, just the objects. So I'm just going to click OK here, and then have a look for the objects. Here we are. So if you right click, you can choose move, or you can go to it on the ribbon at the top, and then I'll just, using the X and Y axis there, drag that so it's centered within my model here. It's fairly large, but I'll just move that to one side even. So notice I can see it in my plan, but I can't see it in the perspective view yet, because most likely it's above or below what I've made. So I can just always go into a side view and then, using the Y axis, drag that down. And there we are. Now I can see my objects, and they're the right size. I'll just zoom in a bit to make that easier. Okay, so I want this stair to be roughly 1 tread above, or 1 riser above the ground, so I'll just move that a bit more slowly. There we go. Now I can move that maybe over towards the camera a bit, or just to one side. So it's fairly nice, large volume I've got to work with there, and that should fit fairly well. I might need to move my other object, or actually I'll just put that where I want it to go, and I'll move my perspective view so I can get a better view of that. There we go. That's done. Okay, so you can use all sorts of free models you'll find online, and yeah, it's a really easy way of adding detail without doing a lot of extra work. So I see that should render without doing much more to it. It'll still need that material to be set up to get the maps working, but again I can just hit continue there for now and ignore that message. Okay, so that'll take a little while to render, but you can see there just from the preview that's coming up that all those objects have come in just fine. And yeah, you'll be surprised how much you can find online that's available for 3ds Max. It's such a popular program. So I'll finish the video there.